might be too blurry, but this is symbols of all kinds of ways that people are taken in office politics, and there's a guy there who's laying down because he's just gotten killed and all kinds of things. So I'll send you that slide when it's better. So let's talk about what is office politics. Give me an idea, somebody, what you think office politics is. Anybody? Not a clue? Yes.
That must be a senior.
That's a good parrot answer. Paul? That's one definition. Anybody else? No, it's that and more. It can be a positive, it can be a negative. It depends on how you play the game. Anybody else? All right. So, one definition. Politics is what naturally happens whenever people with different goals, interests, and personalities try to work together. So, it's really about sort of the glue. It's about relationships. And those of you who haven't been coming to these classes, some of the things we've been trying to teach you is, one, get to know yourself. Who are you? What do you want to do? Because the more you know yourself, the more you're going to be able to figure out where you can fit in best as a career and going forward in your life. So this is about another way of getting to know yourself, how you fit in, and how you build those relationships that are going to take you where you want to go. So we're all continuously engaged in political transactions throughout the day. And as I said, it's not good or bad, it's a fact of life. And the morality comes from when you look at your own motives and goals and those of the people around you, the players. Another definition is the use of one's individual or assigned power within an employing organization for the purpose of obtaining advantages beyond one's legitimate authority. And that's sort of what Paul was alluding to. It's sort of going outside the box a little bit to get something done, not necessarily following the regular chain of command or the regular way that you would be in your hierarchy or your work org. These advantages can include access to tangible assets or intangible benefits such as status or pseudo-authority that influences the behavior of others. So can anybody think of what some examples of that might be? What a pseudo-authority that influences the behavior of others might be? Denise?
Someone who might be popular with colleagues,
That could
so
be.
they wield power in a way.
That's true. It could be the person who gets to the office early every day and makes the coffee. That person could be quite popular because people come in, they love to have the coffee made, they don't have to wait, they don't want to be the ones to make it. So that could be somebody. It could be the person who always organizes the celebration of somebody's birthday. Those are not like real lines of authority, you don't see it in a job description, but people earn a lot of points for being somebody who's looking out for somebody, taking care of the other people in the office. It could be the person who makes sure that you get your parking place when you have a broken leg, you know, that kind of thing. So it's all kinds of different ways that can play out. Office politics is about people interacting and building relationships to get things done. It's about getting ahead and accomplishing more, making you more fulfilled in your job. Because the whole point of being there for 8 hours isn't to warm the seat, it's to actually do something more. It's to produce something, it's to get further in your chosen career. Office politics are what happens in a conversation, who wins a conversation, who gets what they want, and who says nothing, and who gets nothing. So it really is about playing a game, and in any game, there's power that can be had, won, and lost. So every office, and tonight's a perfect example to use some sports metaphors because we're thinking about the Giants and hoping they win, despite what Chris says. Every office is a playing field for the game of politics. And when you take a job, you automatically become a player. And this is so important to understand. This isn't something you have a choice about. You are going to play office politics. And I say that as soon as you even begin to apply for a job, you have now put yourself in a position where you're going to play office politics. Can you think of when you are trying to get a job, how office politics may play out? If, for example, you want a job in a certain company, do you think it matters who might be the person who introduces you to the human resources person who works in that company? Why do you think that might matter? Connections. But in what way? What if that person that introduces you to HR is somebody that they really like? Do you think?
That reflects on you in a positive way.
And what if it's somebody they really don't like?
Then it reflects on you in a negative way.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you perhaps are introduced by the wrong person to the company, person who isn't held in esteem, who doesn't know how to play politics well, then you could end up being tarnished by the same person and not getting that job because the wrong person brought you in the door, even though you may be most ably qualified. It's also a matter when people are doing hiring, and we're in the most competitive labor market I've ever seen, they are going to be looking at people with very competitive skill sets. Most of you would have very good skill sets for a job. Who's going to get hired? The person who's going to get hired is probably the person they like the most, the person they make a connection with. So who makes a connection? It's somebody they can relate to, somebody who knows how to play office politics, find that common ground, present themselves in a way that reflects the corporate culture, dress like the people who work there dress, have that right kind of demeanor and attitude. Those are the kinds of things that happen in office politics that can get you in the door or get you excluded. So, managing the political environment is just as important as managing your other work tasks and responsibilities. This is not something you think of as an afterthought. This is something you should be thinking about all the time, because it really will make or break your ability to grow in your career. So, other definitions. Office policy has been defined also as simply how power gets worked out on a practical, day-to-day basis. So, what kinds of power is there to work out in an office? Anybody know? Have some ideas? Yes?
Like, who does what task on a project? Like, you're assigned a certain portion of what you're doing, I guess.
So the first thing would be the person with the power to assign you to a project, and then within the project, whoever the project leader is, to assign the subtasks to the people. So that's certainly power. So there's power there between the employee and the manager, and then between the employees themselves, working as a team. And who's going to do the most important work, who's maybe going to slack off, and what does the team do about it? That's all power. What other kinds of power is there? How about working with in the public arena, where maybe you're in retail and you're dealing with the public, and how you perform in doing your job there as far as customer service and things like that. If the customer complains, you may not have a job anymore because you didn't wield your power appropriately. Perhaps you were heavy-handed in saying, no, that sale ended at 5 o'clock and it's 5:05 and we're not going to give you the deal. That kind of thing. You know, you may think you have power and you want to wield it, but how you wield it can make or break your going forward. Office politics also refers to the way coworkers act amongst each other. As I said, it can be either positive or negative. And office politics is a major issue in business because individuals who manipulate their working relationship consume time and resources for their own gain at the expense of the team or the company. So if you're doing it just to get ahead, just being selfish and thinking only about you and not thinking about how to do your job best and how to help your company succeed, then you're really robbing your company by playing these kinds of games. And it's something that companies are becoming very, very sensitive to, about who's really performing. Productivity is really being tracked more than ever. And if you're wasting your time going around trying to screw somebody up and work on a team and make sure somebody looks bad and you look good and all that kind of stuff and not really focusing on your performance, you're not doing your job. So, winning at office politics. Here's a guy. Congrats, you've now been promoted. You will now be blamed by both management and the subordinates. A lovely position to be in, right? Here's your promotion. And that's exactly what some people find, because as you move up, you have different interactions. And it's one of the things that we're going to see later that we have to be really cognizant of, is how do you relate to people as you go up the ladder? Because There's a lot of people who you will be co-workers with at the same level who will end up being promoted over you, or you may be promoted over them. And how you've treated those people and the relationships you've built will have a real telling factor in how you can go forward, because you don't want to burn bridges. So now I'm going to try and do this video, Denise.
With younger voters pledging support to the Obama campaign in record numbers, 2008 seemed to end